when Cindy drives up to the palace, I mean, all eyes are on her rail. Man, like nobody in this kingdom has ever seen a flathead with so much chrome, you know? And, well, what I mean to tell you, when Junior spotted that chromy dragster, it was like love at first sight, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it was like a dream. She could have danced all night, but she remembered what the fairy godmother had clued her in on. So Cindy looked at the big clock on the palace wall. It said 11:59.
I hate to be a party pooper,
said Cinderella.
but I really must be running along.
So she turned and ran out of the ballroom with the prince right behind her.
Stop!
Called the prince nasally.
I didn't even ask you your name yet. Please don't go.
But Cindy ran on through the marble halls and down the palace steps. And like halfway down, she dropped one of her glass sneakers and started to go back to get it, but it was too late. In a few more seconds, the magic spell would end, you know? So she had to keep running. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the prince is going out of his skull. He is frantic. All he had as a clue to the identity of his beautiful guest was the dainty glass slippers she had left behind. So the prince decided to have a house-to-house search throughout the kingdom, you know. When the two stepsisters learned that the prince would search their house next, they real quick like put their hair in curlers, slipped into their rhinestone Levi's, and waited breathlessly for the prince to call, you know. But when the prince saw the two homely sisters, he backed out of the house saying,
Excuse me, I must be in the wrong land.
By now, the prince was really sad. Because, I mean, like, this was the last house in the kingdom to be searched, you know? And there was still no one who could wear the glass slipper. But just as Prince was starting to leave, he looked out the window and saw Cinderella plowing in the back 40.
Who is that lovely girl? She's kind of cute. I dig her the most. So have her come in at once.
And the two envious stepsisters looked on with envy as the prince slipped the glass slipper onto Cinderella's dainty foot with ease. The prince announced right then and there that Cinderella was to be his princess and live in the royal palace happily ever after.
Aw, Jinxie, that's not really the way the story of Cinderella ended, is it?
No, I guess I just kind of like, you know, putting you on. I mean, all right, now here's the real story of Cinderella.
Many years ago, in a kingdom far away, there lived a girl that we all know and love until this day. Cinderella's life was sad, she never had a fella. The most unhappy girl on earth was poor Cinderella. And when the royal trumpets blew, inviting one and all to the royal palace dance, the kingdom had a ball. But Cindy had to stay at home, poor Cindy was in tears. But suddenly a fairy queen magically appears. With her magic wand in hand, the fairy touched her crown, and there Cinderella stood in a magic jeweled gown. With her magic wand once more, the fairy waved her hand, and suddenly a coach appeared, the finest in the land. And when the kingdom's charming prince saw Cindy at the ball, he knew at once that Cindy was the fairest of them all. Cindy danced until midnight. She remembered what the fairy said. Her heart was filled with fright. At midnight the spell would be dead. As Cindy ran out of his life, the prince was left alone. He wanted Cindy for his wife, but now his love was gone. The prince, he had not learned the name of this lovely lass. The only thing she left behind was a slipper made of glass. The prince search from home to home to find his love so fair, until he learned the slipper fit the girl with golden hair. And when the prince did wed his love, the kingdom rang with laughter, as Cindy and her charming prince lived happily ever after. Remember, Cinderella, no matter what you do, in some way Cindy's story might happen to you. Might happen to you. Might happen to you.